Hello and welcome to another episode of FEA's My Facility podcast, where we dive into the latest innovations, trends, and solutions in facilities planning and management. We will bring you conversations with industry experts, innovators, and thought leaders to help you navigate the challenges and opportunities in managing your facilities. At FEA, we're committed to building excellence where we live, work, and play. So if you're looking to stay ahead of the curve and improve your asset management strategy or facility financial planning, you're in the right place. So let's jump in and unlock the secrets to smarter facility planning in today's episode.
So welcome to today's episode of My Facility Podcast. As organizations face growing deferred maintenance needs, tighter budgets, and increased pressure to make data-driven decisions, having clear facility data has never been more important. Today, we'll explore how My Facility Plan helps organizations improve facility planning, budgeting, and decision-making through better data and visualization tools. I'm Michelle McCann. I've been a member of the BD team here at FEA for more than 7 years. Joining me today are Michael Albeck and Angie Marchany-Rivera. They're members of FEA's products and programs team. Michael is a financial data analyst, and he oversees the development of My Facility Plan and assessment applications, and he supports data-driven tools to improve facility planning and assessment workflows. Angie is a data analyst, and she supports facility and engineering consulting products and turns complex building, asset, and financial data into clear insights and tools to help clients make informed decisions. So let's get started. So before we sort of jump in, Michael and Angie, why don't you both take a moment to talk a little bit about your journey, how you, your passion for data and what led you to FEA. Michael, do you want to begin?
Sure, thank you. So I have come from a background in finance. I worked in financial services for over 20 years. As a broker, advisor, worked in different roles as a principal in compliance departments. And as I moved throughout my career, I developed a pretty strong skill set for managing data and reporting through to executive leadership teams, where you really start to understand the power of having clean, organized data and being able to actually use it to make informed decisions. It's one thing to have a giant pool of data. It's another thing to be able to communicate that well and tell a story and be able to actually put it into action to improve your overall situation. So throughout my career in finance, I began transitioning over more and more into the data analytics side, where I ended up working with a number of dashboards and product development teams in my sort of former life before coming to FEA. And since joining the team here, I have taken on the mantle of sort of overseeing the development of both of our main application, My Facility Plan, as well as the My Facility Assessment, managing the board, taking in feedback, and really working to improve and make it more user-friendly, but also a bit more robust as time has gone on. So that's sort of my transition into handling the My Facility Plan application.
Thanks, Michael. Angie, do you want to share your journey to FEA?
Yes. Thank you, Michelle. I come from a teaching and science background. So I've had a lot of experience working with data and trying to make sense of it to make informed decisions. So transitioning into facility management was data is data, right? So as long as you can look at it and analyze it and organize it, you should be able to get some insights of it. What we've seen here in FEA is this transition from companies and agencies to take their data that is in Excel, PDFs, PowerPoints, and that kind of output into a more useful outputs, dashboards, and charting and financial planning applications where you can use your raw data into giving you more information and help you plan in the future. And maybe future contracts, you don't have to do as much work you can just update what you have and keep building upon it. And I think that's where my facility plan really guides the clients into take what you have, put it in a place where you can actually manipulate the data and draw insights from it. And that's the connection that hopefully will be communicated through this podcast.
That's great, and that's a great sort of transition as we begin to talk about my facility plan and sort of explore it. So, Angie, if you want to continue with that thought, in simple terms, can you, for people who might not be familiar with my facility plan, how would you describe it to, the average person, the average facility manager?
Yes. So I think the best analogy is most people are used to seeing Excel spreadsheets, right? And in Excel, anyone can open the file as long as you have the software. You can log in if it's password protected and things like that. But you don't have a lot of control on what happened to the data in Excel. Anyone can delete something. Anyone that has access to it can remove a row or delete a column or add columns. Sometimes your formulas get messed up and things like that. So the transition to my facility plan is a need to control a little bit of that data quality and be able to manipulate it without having to worry about formulas breaking or your users being able to delete data without a track of what's happening and be able to recover your data and things like that. Sometimes it's too late. It's been a month and somebody else opened the file and they're looking for something and they're like, oh, where is this? Maybe somebody deleted. So my facility plan takes all of your asset data, all of your funding, all of your anything related to how you manage those systems in your buildings and your sites. And you can use it to plan financial futures, 10 years, 20 years, however many years you want to plan and manipulate how you want to move the costs of the replacements or your operations or your capital projects around to balance your budget. And that is so much easier to do in an application that's literally designed to do that than trying to manually get everybody on board to manage an Excel spreadsheet in that way. Even when everybody's on board, humans are bound to make mistakes, and we can't control that. That's something we cannot control. So at least in an app that's designed to do this, you can always recover your work and have a trace of what's happening.
The My Facility Plan, it really helps. It goes a long way towards solving those problems with things like data integrity, having the right permissions for the right people so that they can get into the plan and manipulate the data. You have easier ways to upload or manage bulk data at one time.
I think also in what I've seen with clients is a lot of clients have multiple software where they collect data, like for work orders or asset replacements or capital projects, and the way they're accounting for things and that are being done and keeping everything up to date is the hardest thing when you have a portfolio that's a large portfolio. Even with 10, 20 buildings, you start getting into that. You have multiple facility managers, you have multiple buildings you're looking after. Some are leased, some are owned. You treat them differently. And this is a place where you can have all of that data in one place and look at your portfolio as a bird's eye view of what you have and what's happening. And it's not, let's say I spend exactly $52 replacing this light bulb. It's more of, if I'm spending $5,000 replacing light bulbs on my portfolio every month or every 2 months, you have that wide-eyed view of this is how much it's costing me to do something in the whole as a whole. If you don't want that kind of level of detail, then you can see it at the building level. You can roll it up and say, okay, this is how much I'm spending on this building versus that building versus the other building. Or you can go down as far down as you want. If you want to literally track every single light bulb, which a lot of people do not want to do that, they just have a budget for that, then you can do that. You have the option to customize the way you add your data to the app and see it at that level of detail, or roll it up to, let's say, your funding team and how you present the data to your financial team and say, okay, as a portfolio, this is what we're handling and this is how much we need or how much we have.
Can you guys share any other examples of clients where you've seen them take their data, upload it into the system, and how they've used it to improve how they plan and budget for their facility portfolio?
A lot of times when we're onboarding a client, what we'll see, what comes into us for their data will be things like an Excel workbook that has 20 different tabs, one tab for each separate building. Or there might be multiple different workbooks that were prepared by different people. So there's different naming conventions, there might be different columns altogether. And those are the types of things that can cause the data to be disconnected or difficult to really report on.
Mm-hmm.
So when we onboard a client, one of the first things that we'll do is get a hold of that data, whether we conducted the facility assessment on our end and gathered that data, or if they're providing the data directly to us. But we will work through that data to unify it, bring it all into a standardized format. And when we load that into the My Facility Plan application, there will be unique identifiers created for each different line item. And those unique identifiers can then be used at all the different levels of reporting. What I think we've seen pretty consistently with clients is once that data is loaded in and they start to work through creating activities like replacement, or maybe their recurring maintenance, like the preventative maintenance, different types of tasks based on that data, it becomes pretty clear that they have a much better just representation of everything happening across the whole portfolio. You can get the total dollar value for all the HVAC systems, or down at the building, down at the maybe a site level that has a few different buildings, being able to coordinate larger projects at once, get better deals, or just being able to communicate to their leadership team, this is what I've been telling you. We have all these older systems that need to be replaced over the next few years. And within the planning software itself, you also have access to the different types of reporting where you can report out at the different work breakdown structures, system levels, and so on. And I think that is really powerful. Another thing that I've seen recently is typically when you're looking at these plans, it's going to be more at the building level. If you want more granularity, you could take it down to the individual room level, or you could manage by individual areas. Maybe you have Gym 1, Gym 2, Gym 3, and you want to coordinate everything that needs to be done for that section or another section. You can create and manage individual projects within the plan as well. And I've seen pretty recently restructuring entire data because our clients have seen the power of the application and how you can actually start changing your own data structure. So there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of potential there for clients to really just take ownership of their own data.
Angie, can you tell us what types of clients are using this or using My Facility Plan? Is it?
It can be used by anyone that has facilities. So right now we have data from schools, private entities, sports related buildings, and you from a couple buildings to thousands of buildings.
Wow.
You're still trying to see the same information, right? You're trying to justify how are you spending your money and what makes the most sense and what are your priorities.
So are there tools or how would they communicate with leadership or boards or the legislature or whoever the decision maker is to get that additional funding? Are there tools built into My Facility Plan that would help show that or make that case?
When you move into the planning piece of the application, you are able to generate all of the cash flows across all of the systems and turn that into reports. So there is an actual reporting tab within the plan itself, within every plan that you create, which is an important distinction. There's not just one plan. You are able to basically create a sandbox for the plan you are working on where you can adjust and manipulate data. You can create multiple different types of plans as you are in there working with your data and really communicate the different types of options to leadership. So if you have an aggressive plan where you want to take care of all the maintenance all the time, stay completely on top of it, and you get all the funding that you could desire, which probably won't happen, there's usually some give and take. But you could show that scenario. And then you could show, well, if I can't get this much money, here are the things that I think are most important. I've arranged the different activities that are coming up over the next several years. And you can really make sure to articulate that clearly, show it with visual data, show it with the individual line by line data if somebody is so inclined to look at it in that detail. And I think really what is powerful is when you start looking out past the next 1 or 2 years, because I think most planning comes down, unfortunately, to what's going to hit our bottom line in the next year or two. They generally have shorter cycles where they're looking forward. But when you can start talking about, well, yes, this is the next 2 years, but look at the spike in costs over years 3, 4, 5, or in year 10, we have to replace the entire electrical system for a major building, and it's several $1,000,000. You can see those things in advance, and you can start talking to the fact that, yes, it might only be $1 million or $2 million that we need for the next 3 years, but look, there's $10 million coming. So we can look at adjusting things now, planning ahead, and really working together to come up with a viable plan in advance so that we don't have that shock factor come in 10 years down the road, and we just don't have the capability to continue operating.
That's really helpful. Do you want to, are you able to share any examples? Can you give us, without sort of naming a client by name, just using sort of general terms, but, take us through a client who uploaded their data to My Facility Plan and used it to better manage and prioritize their facility portfolio?
So I'm probably the one who primarily works with that process, more so than Angie. And I've seen a number of different things occur. Probably the best example I could give here recently is, a client that we'd already worked with conducting assessments, and we had data that we could pull from our other applications and sort of our normal reporting workflows. And when we onboarded that client, I work with them directly to make sure we have all the proper data points and get everything loaded into the systems. And it was great for me to see that once we got their baseline plan set up, showing what we've already done for them, they were able to pick that up and add their own data for additional buildings that were maybe not included in our assessments, but they needed another way to capture that without having to go through the whole assessment workflow and process with us. So it really enabled them to go in and add their own buildings, to be able to capture any key data, or even just manage inventory in a cleaner way that they hadn't been doing before. And what I think was great about that example is they didn't need a lot of help to do that. They were able to pick up the application, and because it is managed in a way that the user interfaces are very, I think, very commonsensically aligned. It just makes sense when you get into the application and you're navigating through tabs. It's very familiar. There's not a bunch of hidden steps typically. I think it was great to see clients going out and managing their own inventory themselves, being able to pull things into that structure and continue to add on to it and grow it as they saw fit, without us having to come in and say, this is how you should do these things. because we set up the structure, the architecture of the data and have it incorporated into the tool itself, now they're able to go out and use those tools effectively.
Anything to add, Angie?
No, I think he explained most of what I've seen as well. And I've worked with clients that live in Excel. That's why I mentioned Excel so much. They live in Excel because it is an available software, is a way where consultants send data, is a way to upload data into their current softwares and things like that. So Excel is kind of the mediator of of data for almost everyone, making sure you collect the data you need or request your consultant to collect the data that you need is probably the biggest driver of success. And in our case, we have chosen to leave it a little bit more open. We will guide you to organize your data if it's not organized in a way that it is too useful to you right now. But we do have a higher level of customization of what data gets collected, and gets imported into the app and how you see it. So, for example, some softwares might allow you to see you have to select the building, and then you have to select windows, and then you can see what's under windows. And it might not allow you to see, I want to see the windows for every building. In my facility plan, you can do both. You just having that availability of, yes, there are certain things we need, like a building name or an identifier or something that we can say we can control. But for the most part, you're able to add as much data as you want for your buildings and as much detail as you want for your buildings. And being able to use that customization in your reporting, in your planning, is probably the most unique part of my facility plan.
I love that flexibility in the tool because, like you were saying, your data warehouses are probably going to have a lower level of service requirement versus your offices where your people are actually working and you want them to be productive. So you can adjust the requirements as needed. That's really neat. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you both with a chance to answer this question. What advice would you give to organizations who are still struggling with managing their deferred maintenance or managing tight budget? What advice would you give for them? Angie, you want to start?
Yeah. Yeah. So what we've seen for the most part is having a plan for how to plan. So if you start by, oh, I just need to assess my buildings every 5 years because that's what's been told to me, and I just get those 5 years, that 5 year assessment done. It's a point in time that might give you details of your whole building or might give you details only of your deferred maintenance. So the plan of having a complete set of data, I think that's the first step for all these agencies and all these clients that might be managing things on an individual building scale to really have a good set of data for your portfolio, however big or small it is. That will lead you to be more strategic in the way you're spending your money, in the way you're asking for money, in the way you're assigning funds to different circumstances. And it's hard for someone to deny funding when something is so important, right? So and you have the data to back up your request.
I think Angie did a good job summarizing. I would just kind of piggyback onto what she was saying. And I think that the challenge that facility managers have is they know what's needed. They know how to take care of their buildings, but communicating that in a way that the capital allocators, right, the people who make the money decisions, can look at the data and say, oh, yes, here you go. Here's a check to go get all your work done. It's never that easy. And I think that the way that you can make that easier is to be communicating with the individuals who make the decision to know what information do you need in order to move these down the road, to put a good plan into action, to take care of these things proactively instead of just responding to emergencies and performing triage all the time. That mindset and that shift, I think, is going to be a challenge for a lot of people in the industry because so many times the decisions are made for the near term. But if you can equip yourself, communicate with the people who make the decisions and understand what information they need so that they can support you, then they will probably be much more likely to support you and help you facilitate the plan in the way that you deem appropriate. But the problem with that is you need to have the data. You need to have it in a way that you can hand it over to them and you can have that conversation and tell that story. You're essentially going into battle and competition with other groups who need money. So the person who can tell the best story is the person who gets that money. And once you realize that, you can start equipping yourself to go in and have those conversations. So
this is great. Thank you so much, Michael and Angie. Really appreciate your insights. And we really learned a lot today about data and using that data to tell a story and to better plan and strategically plan for your facilities. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, thanks.
Take care.